Russia has announced formally withdrawing its signature from the founding statute of the International Criminal Court, citing the tribunal's failure to live up to the hopes of the international community. Russia's foreign ministry says that President Vladimir Putin signed the decree because the court is one-sided and inefficient. Moscow is unhappy at the ICC's treatment of Georgia's short conflict with neighboring Russia in 2008. It says the court ignored Tbilisi's aggression against civilians. The ICC published a report earlier this week recognizing the rejoining of the Crimean Peninsula to Russia as a military conflict between Moscow and Kiev. It also described the move as a Russian occupation of the Ukrainian territory. Several African countries have withdrawn from the ICC. Burundi, South Africa, and Gambia accuse the tribunal of prosecuting alleged crimes only in Africa.
China's Xi urges cooperation among nations in governance of global internet. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Wednesday called for greater cooperation among nations in developing and governing the internet, while reiterating the need to respect so-called cyber sovereignty. Speaking at an internet conference in Wuzhen, in the eastern province of Zhejiang, Xi and propaganda chief Liu Yunshan signaled a willingness to step up China's role in global internet governance, seeking to rectify imbalances in the way standards across cyberspace are set. The development of the internet knows no international boundaries. The sound use, development and governance of the internet thus calls for closer cooperation, Xi said in a video message at the start of China's Third World Internet Conference. While China's influence in global technology has grown, its ruling Communist Party led by Xi has presided over broader and more vigorous efforts to control, and often censor, the flow of information online.
If China and Russia would decide to create a new order, I will be the first to join. Alis ako dyan sa, there used to be the League of Nations before. Itong predecessor ng United Nations. It used to be called League of Nations. Nothing happened. There's still war. United Nations, walang nagawa. Series of war. Vietnam, Taliban, ngayon dito. The killing is endless. Just because it is America, it does not mean that it is good.
The idea of robots who can kill humans on their own has been a science fiction staple for decades. Think Terminator. But now, there are a lot of educated people who say it's not just fantasy anymore.
Robots acting on their own, hunting down humans and killing them. What's only been seen in Hollywood could soon be coming to a battlefield near you. The Pentagon investing billions of dollars to develop autonomous weapons, machines that could one day kill on their own. And now, the big question, how much independence to give them.
We're convinced that fully autonomous weapons, perhaps better known as killer robots, would pose grave dangers to civilians, and for that matter, to soldiers. We think that they cross a fundamental ethical line by turning life and death decision-making over to machines.
Over 30 countries already possess defensive weapons which use autonomy to shoot down incoming missiles or aircraft. But the Pentagon insists humans will decide when to strike.
When it comes to the use of force on behalf of the American people, there always needs to be a human being involved in making those decisions.
But critics don't want to take any chances.
We think that they should be preemptively banned. They don't exist yet, but they're coming down the pike very rapidly.
In 2003, a U.S. Army Patriot missile battery, a system which incorporates a high degree of autonomy, shot down 2 friendly aircraft, killing the pilots.
I don't think we should ever expect war to be perfect and pristine. There's going to be incomplete information. There's going to be accidents. There may be ways in which automation can make warfare more precise, and we've already seen that with smart weapons.
Sherry says autonomy could reduce civilian casualties on the battlefield if used the right way. Experts say the Pentagon is only interested in using the technology for logistics operations or other tasks such as refueling aircraft. Today, automation is being used for driverless cars and on Wall Street, but it's not perfect.
When you look at, say, stock trading today, it's highly automated, and there have been situations where these algorithms that companies have, they interact in unexpected ways, and you get something like a flash crash. And I don't think you'd want to see the military equivalent of that, a flash war.
Top Pentagon officials say the U.S. must stay ahead in the robot arms race. Nations like Russia and China are trying to develop the technology to close the gap. The United States won the Cold War in part due to its innovation prowess, something it hopes to maintain.
Well, now, these pictures you can see behind me have triggered a tirade of questions online. They allegedly show a Hezbollah parade in Syria with the militants group fighters posing on US-made armored vehicles. The group is recognized as a terrorist organization by the United States. The person who posted the images says the vehicles could have been transferred to the group from the Lebanese army. The US State Department reacted as follows.
You know, I saw the social media reports, very grainy photographs. I have no information on it. I will note that we're working with our interagency counterparts to find out more information and get some clarity.
If it turns out that these were tanks that were sold to the Lebanese armed forces and then ended up in Hezbollah's hands, wouldn't that violate some kind of
well, Hezbollah is a foreign terrorist organization.
Yes,
obviously, we would be gravely concerned if equipment ended up in the hands of Hezbollah.
Outgoing UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon just received the charges in a letter from 11 different Muslim states. The signatories are accusing the hardline Iranian regime of wreaking havoc and instability in the Middle East by relentlessly engaging in terrorism. The charges include engagement in regional terror as well as efforts to export terrorism abroad. Iran was specifically blasted for supporting Hezbollah, the Lebanon-based terror group which frequently threatens the state of Israel and is also heavily involved in the Syrian civil war. The Arab group went on to condemn the Islamic Republic for its expansionist policies, flagrant violations of other nations' sovereignty, and continual interference in the internal affairs of other Arab states. The document was signed by the UN ambassadors from Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Morocco, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. The UN Watch monitoring group says that its denunciation from these Muslim Arab countries is very important because it doesn't permit Iran to get away from its usual claim that any criticism of its policies are part of a Western plot.
Of all of the key promises that President-elect Donald Trump has made on the campaign trail, his promise to repeal the Iranian nuclear agreement is one of the most well-known. Well, the United States Congress just passed a bill that could make keeping that promise much easier.
The United States Congress has passed a bill that could pave the way for President-elect Donald Trump to pull out of the Iranian nuclear deal. The House of Representatives passed a 10-year extension of sanctions against Iran that were due to expire on December 31st of 2016. The bill passed with practically no opposition by a vote of 419 to 1. The pro-Israel lobby AIPAC is now urging the Senate to pass a similar bill, and President Obama has already indicated that he would not try to block an extension of said sanctions. If President Trump were to decide to scrap the deal, he could do so by simply ceasing to waive existing sanctions.
Well, many evangelical voters helped to elect Donald Trump, and now some Christian leaders are comparing him to a biblical king named Cyrus.
Author and speaker Lance Wallnau met Donald Trump several months before the election.
I had the strangest sense that I was dealing with something different. I was dealing with someone who wasn't an evangelical Christian, who was anointed for an assignment. And I didn't know where to go with that. So I went home, and all that I heard the Lord say is, Donald Trump is a wrecking ball to the spirit of political correctness.
Wallnau compared Trump to the Persian king Cyrus cited in the Bible. Cyrus decreed the Jews living in captivity in ancient Babylon could return to Israel and rebuild their temple.
He came in, this king, as a secular ruler and decreed for the building of the house of the Lord. He literally made it possible for the Jews to end the captivity. And I'm reading on, it says, he will break through the two-leaved gates of Babylon. I'm going, well, there's your wrecking ball.
He says history is filled with secular rulers, appointed by God for unique seasons.
He anoints them for their assignment. And then it's obvious, if you think about it. You're stuck with the reality of history. Does God put people into the crucible of history who are not your favorite Christian candidate, but who in the end was perfectly anointed for the task?
He thinks the dangerous world of today needs a strong leader, and he believes Trump can guide America through international storms. And he points out Trump has forged a unique relationship with Christians.
Trump, for some strange reason, loves evangelicals. I mean, it's peculiar. He has more confidence in what Christians can do in America than Christians have in what Christians can do. And he sees them as a missing piece.
The Washington, D.C. City Council just overwhelmingly approved a Death with Dignity bill allowing terminally ill patients to end their lives. The vote Tuesday was 11-2. D.C. is now the 7th jurisdiction to authorize the controversial practice.
D.C. City Council is just the latest to pass Death with Dignity legislation, which gives adults with less than 6 months to live the option to request lethal medication from their doctors. When it goes into law, the nation's capital will join Oregon, Washington, Vermont, Montana, California, and Colorado, states that have approved similar practice. Death with Dignity is becoming a bigger conversation. 19 other states also considered legislation this year. But D.C. will be the first to pass it with a predominantly black population. Some in the district opposed the bill when City Council was considering it, claiming it could be used to target elderly black residents. Disability advocates are also largely against it. In D.C., opponents are concerned that poor people will be pushed to end their lives prematurely in lieu of more costly treatment.
On Tuesday, it was reported that a measure making Denver the first city in the U.S. to legalize the use of marijuana in venues such as clubs, bars, and restaurants is expected to get enough votes to pass. The announcement comes during a series of wins for supporters of medical and recreational marijuana use. Voters in California and Massachusetts approved ballot initiatives legalizing recreational use last week. The Colorado measure will give private businesses the ability to allow marijuana use by adults in designated areas with some exceptions. Advocates of the initiative said it would make Denver the first city where cannabis users can enjoy the drug socially without fear of arrest.
Storm of fake news from the 2016 election, Google and Facebook have pledged to remove what they deem as fake from their news and advertisements. These especially include articles with deceptive clickbait headlines. TechCrunch's Romain Dillet questions whether there may be a better way of weeding out possibly false articles, rather than creating yet another algorithm to block certain keywords. Dillet suggests instead flagging the fake news stories and believes that Google will have no problem with this. However, Facebook's robots haven't been doing a great job. Censorship isn't the best idea, but it may be a step in the right direction.
Tuesday, Twitter reportedly suspended a number of accounts associated with the alt-right movement as part of a renewed effort to crack down on harassment. Among the accounts suspended, white nationalist Richard Spencer, Spencer's think tank National Policy Institute, his journal Radix, his publishing company, Washington Summit Publishers, former Business Insider Chief Technology Officer Pax Dickinson, and alt-right personalities Ricky Vaughn and Paul Town. The most recent wave of high-profile suspensions came the same day that Twitter released new anti-harassment tools that allow users to mute tweets containing specific words and hashtags. Twitter has banned high-profile alt-right accounts in the past for harassment.
From the live desk, more concerns about terrorism and a new warning for the holidays. The Department of Homeland Security just updated its terror bulletin. Here's a look. The department says it remained concerned about homegrown violent extremists who could strike with little or no notice. It says the holiday season in particular gives those extremists extra opportunities to target public events or places where they'll find a lot of people. But adds, you shouldn't change anything you're already planning to do. Just be aware of what's going on all around you.
Did you see this today? There was this plane just circling, the metro circling and circling, and many of you called us asking what was going on. So we got on the phones for you. We called the Air Force. We called other military. We called DIA, the FAA. And still so far, the only answer we got is, I don't know. So we'll stay on top of it and let you know when we do get an answer.
The Viking wall is special for me in my room that my mom did.
DeAndre Ashworth surrounds himself in his room at the Ashland Group with the things.
That's my high school jacket.
He most treasures.
My dad was soccer.
One.
Yeah.
More than the rest.
My hero.
That grainy photo of a St. Paul firefighter is from an article
right here
25 years ago.
He's the reason I'm alive right now.
A photocopied connection to the man who who saved his life.
So he brings the article and I read it and I'm like, oh my God.
Patience Robinson had started working at the group home and listened.
And he just really wanted to thank him. He just really wanted to see him and thank him. And I said, well, let's see if we can find him.
Then Patience went online and did.
Pioneer Press on the day after the fire.
Turns out retired St. Paul Fire Captain Don Cozen
In recognition
had saved some mementos from the rescue.
of meritorious service.
Too.
All 4 channels covered it.
Little DeAndre Ward is in fair condition 15 hours after being pulled from his burning house.
That's him. Yeah, that's DeAndre.
Before DeAndre could be carried from that burning home,
You don't see nothing.
Don had crawled into the fire
Actually, I was lost up there.
to find him.
And then I heard him. And I crawled a little bit further and I felt him. DeAndre, he was crying.
The firefighters saved me,
But DeAndre
and God bless them.
wasn't the only one left wondering.
I always felt that it's God working through me to save his child. So what was the purpose that he used me in saving his child, and what did that child become?
A fireman came.
The fireman is about to find out.
Hey, where's DeAndre?
Hey, Don.
Hello there, sir. Good to see you there, young man.
Few of us have faced DeAndre's challenges.
Captain Don Cozen.
Disabilities linked to a substance-abusing mom whose son became a ward of the state.
Well, this is in the mayor's office.
But because Don was there to save him,
That's your thank you.
DeAndre lived to have an adopted family
Love you. Love you too, Dad.
that visits him regularly, gives him love, and a home on holidays.
Come here.
A mom and a dad and siblings.
It's pretty amazing to see little pictures of my boy before I ever even got to know you. Thank you.
Don Cozen now knows that little boy is okay.
Thank you for saving my life.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And DeAndre has a new favorite photo in his album.
He's my favorite hero. He still is. More than ever.